What's up, Agents Rock? I'm super excited about today's episode because I have a special guest here. It's not the usual co-host, Melissa Gonzalez, but we have a special guest, Diandra from 147 Admin. Say hi, Diandra.
Hi, everyone. So excited to be here. We miss Melissa here, but
No,
happy to provide some value for all of you guys here today.
That's awesome. And, why don't you tell them what you do?
Yes. All right. So at 147 Admin, we basically empower high-earning real estate agents by leveraging and outsourcing their administrative services so that they can get more time, earn more money, and help more clients.
Yeah, awesome. We did a pod a while back about who should be your first hire. And I wholeheartedly believe a company that provides services just like yours, especially you and your company, I think that should be your first hire, right? You've partner up with a lot of agents already in the past, like Jacob, for example. And I think that a lot of Jacob's, his success, that has a lot to do with his work ethic, obviously, but it has a lot to do with the fact that now he can focus on what matters, which is the client, right? He doesn't have to work on or focus on the nuances, which is writing up offers, scheduling appointments, etc. Tell us a little bit about that stuff. Why don't you tell us how you even started the company first and foremost? Where did you see an opportunity for you to monetize?
Yes. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about that story, the beginning stages of that, how this all happened. Basically, right from the onset, I know how agents need help because I was an agent. I've been through it. I've been through the trenches where I was working super late into the night and on the weekends because this is a 7
days a week job. Real estate agents.
For anybody that's like, I want to get into real estate for flexibility and, having more time. No, that's not what you're getting unless you have some help, of course.
Eliani says it best. We don't have days off. We have moments off.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Yeah. So I was an agent myself. I was a high producing agent myself, and it was just nonstop all the time. So, whether it was scheduling appointments for me and my buyers and then having another buyer contact me while I'm with another buyer at the same time, having clients that wanted to put out offers, multiple offers sometimes for multiple houses that we've seen because the market was crazy, running home to work on those offers, waiting for them to sign, then, having to submit it. And then the best part was when we saw a property and the offer was due that same day at 5 o'clock, but I knew I still had home inspection to go to.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, when am I going to draft this?
Correct.
The deadline is in 3 hours. How is this going to happen?
How do you duplicate yourself?
How do I duplicate myself? And through that, I also was working as a full-time administrator for a real estate team. And we started off doing about 18 million in sales. And by the second year, we were doing close to 70 million in sales. So in all of that, I created systems in the background, which, could be due to my background in operations when I worked at NYU before I stepped into real estate. But I started creating mini teams of people that got really talented at what they were doing to help us as a team grow and
for scalability.
Yeah, for scalability and to do more sales and focus on showing homes and focus on putting out fires, focusing on the client, focusing on getting more business. Focusing on having more time to prospect, because all these things take time. Prospecting takes time. So, if you want to get more business, you want to grow your business, you really have to offset those minuscule tasks that don't provide as much ROI.
Yeah. And what happens? It also bogs down agents. And if you're an agent for the first year, second year, you may not start liking the business because of those little tasks that are really bogging your time down. And I think a lot of agents, unfortunately, when they come into the business, they don't learn on how to work on the business. They're so focused on working in the business, right, that they're short-sighted, right? They forget that there is a scalability aspect to the business where it's like, all right, how do you get from one point to the other? You have to be able to duplicate yourself. How do you do that? You have to delegate. Really, that's what it comes down to. And that's where you come into the mix, into the picture.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. So in essence, I created these small teams, small groups of really talented staff that I trained myself, and we were able to help agents scale their business. We've taken numerous times we've taken agents that were closing 15 deals a year, doubled it to 30. Wow. We took agents that were making 25 deals and doubled it to 50 with ease, right? There, you know, if your goal is to make more money or if your goal is to have more time back, we can help you do that. Obviously we're not a lead generator, but in essence, we're giving you back more time so that you can focus on generating more business.
Yeah. What do you think is the thing that bogs most agents down? Like what's that minuscule task or several tasks? What do you think are the ones that you feel should be delegated at some point when you get to a certain level in your real estate career?
Yeah, for sure. So It's like you said, it's very hard to be multiple places at once. So if I were to say what would be the top things to delegate right off the bat, would probably be scheduling your appointments, right? Scheduling show, yeah. Oh, no, schedule this. I know, and then when you get one confirmation, and then the other one doesn't confirm, so you got to reroute and move everything back up. Let's say you have 4 houses, and 3 out of 4 confirm, and you got to swish things around because the third guy. I know the whole ordeal. I would say that's the first thing that really needs to get delegated. When you're at that point where you're probably closing 12 plus deals a year and you feel like very bogged down by the career and you start getting, a little bit burnt out, that's really the first time where you need help. But the first thing that I would suggest delegating is the scheduling of your appointments, because that's something that it's very easily delegatable. It's not rocket science to schedule appointments. It's just, it does require some outside of the box thinking sometimes, especially when you have to play around with your schedule. The second thing I would say to delegate is composing offers and really anything that requires paperwork and that requires you to sit down in front of your
listing agreements.
Yeah. Anything that requires paperwork, listing agreements, compliance documents. Anything that really requires you to sit down in front of the computer or requires you to race to your computer, because then you're not getting to whatever else that it is that you need to do because you're on press for time because of paperwork and documentation. It's a distraction. Right. Because you don't want to be distracted. Like you're already, as a realtor, you wear enough hats. Yeah. Right. You're
psychologist, therapist,
you're a negotiator. You depending on what you do outside of real estate.
Contractor sometimes.
Yeah, a contractor sometimes. It's all the things. You wear so many hats. So, that would be the second thing that I would delegate is anything that requires paperwork that requires you to race to your computer is probably what I would delegate next. And then the third thing I would delegate is if you have so many clients that you get to the point where you feel like, oh my gosh, I have so many clients, how am I going to show all of my clients on Saturday? I can't be 4 places at once, is to probably, take into consideration that you might need a showing agent or something of the equivalent.
That's what I ended up doing 3-4 years ago when I started getting busy. The year that I did a little over 40-something transactions, I couldn't be there for every showing, and I started just hiring a showing assistant and paying them per door or making them part of the transaction. Started delegating those stuff so I can replicate myself as much as possible. And I did a great job at not being present, but being very communicative with them. So they never felt that I just passed them on, because some clients are going to feel like, oh, you're just passing me on. I'm not that important for you. So you have to make sure you extract that feeling from them, right? Because it is an emotional connection and bond that you're looking to create with your client. So you have to set the right expectations right from the door, right? And I did that for many reasons. I was working with a lot of clients, and I also wanted some time back. I wanted to spend a little bit more time with my kids. So if I wanted to take off a Saturday or a Sunday and I didn't want to show, I knew that my business had to continue. So I wasn't there, but someone else was showing, which was Melissa at the time, right? And she did a great job doing it. Learned a lot from it as well. Another thing that I know that you guys provide, and I think you're going to, agree with me on that, is once a deal goes under contract, there's so many emails that go back and forth, back and forth. It's like, I won't, and I'm not going to sit here and exaggerate that it's hundreds, but it feels like it's hundreds, right? Yeah, and it's like, now you got to spend, time checking your emails, and then now you got to go back to some emails, and it's like, it's just very time consuming, and it's not an income producing activity, right? And I think that what you do, what you provide, is the affordability and obviously the time aspect of agents focusing on the income producing activities, which is really prospecting, showing clients houses. I think that's income producing as well. Scheduling appointments, being there for inspections. Although I delegated that as well afterwards. I got to a point where it's like, all right, I'm not sitting here for 3 hours. This is really a good time for the client and the home inspector to, stand around and figure out if there's anything wrong here with the house. And I'm just going to sit in the background, not really doing anything. Now, I used to prospect while that was happening. And then I was like, you know what? I need the time to be at the office, or I want to spend a little bit more time now with my family. Let me show up for the first 5 minutes. I already had the conversation with them. Hey, by the way, this is what's going to happen during home inspections. I'm going to be there to introduce you to your home inspector. And then right after that, somebody from my team will be representing me while you're there. And then I would leave, and I would pay, an agent $30, $40, $50. And sometimes if it was a brand new agent and they just wanted to learn, they would just be there anyway, right? There's not much that you're going to do. The client's not going to ask you questions. They're going to ask the home inspector all the questions in the world. So I feel like it's not necessary for an agent to be there all the time, especially because there's so many moving parts. Say you showed already 30 houses to this this client, and they made an offer, you talking to them every day. You're not going to lose the client because you weren't there at home inspection.
That's true.
You're not going to, show up to the closing, right? Show up to the closing. You showed up to everything else. I don't think that's necessary. Right. So you were talking about putting teams together when you were working at this small brokerage, right? Where did you get the people that you surrounded yourself with? Because you started an entire, an entire company on your own, right? And you grew really quick, very fast, right? How did you find the talent?
Yeah, so it's funny because I guess from my experience when I was working at NYU as an operations manager, I used to be an events coordinator and an operations manager, facilities manager, all the nines. And I was managing at that time a staff of about 65 people. Oh, wow. So I guess that kind of comes with that background of having managed a large team and having been so entrenched with the hiring process and knowing who might be a good fit and who might not be a good fit. And I still continue to make some mistakes along the way. Like, it happens, and I talk about that, but it's always a work in progress. Yeah. But to answer your question, how did I build that team? It was really scaling little by little. It was really identifying in the beginning, just like I said to you, is identifying what areas are delegatable, right? And then plugging in a person for that role and training that person for that position. The training process is really not an overnight thing. It's training admins is just as extensive as it is to be a training real estate agent, because you can't train a real estate agent overnight. You can't train a real estate agent in 2 weeks. No. It really all happens on the job. Yeah. Same thing for admins, right? So I can bring on a new scheduling person. After the interview, they seem like they have all the right criteria, but I won't really know if they're a good fit until they actually are in the trenches and scheduling appointments and really seeing how they think outside of the box.
I like that you said that because, I've been watching a bunch of podcasts and videos, and, when it comes to hiring, it's a gamble. You have no idea. Like, an interview is nothing. Like, how are you going to know based on an interview within 10 minutes if that person's going to be the right fit? Mm-hmm. You're not going to find out until you really just put them in the field and really see what happens.
And I'm the type of person that I'll sit with somebody in an interview and I'll love everyone. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll sit with 10 people. And I'll be like, yeah, you're great. Like, yeah, this is great. But again, it doesn't really matter until like we really see them in the trenches and see how they think, how they're able to manage multiple things coming in them at once, right? Because our jobs are not exactly similar to real estate agents, right? Real estate agents are managing a lot more of the heavy lifting, I would say, in terms of...
They're like consumer facing.
Yes, very much so, dealing with negotiation, very client facing, issues. We're very background, but at the same time, we are also managing a lot of things at the same time, right? Because if we have a very busy agent that, has 15 active clients and they have 17 under contract deals, that's just one agent, right? So imagine what it's like to schedule that individual's agent's appointments plus do their offers at the same time, because they're not spending any time at the computer. So they're spending all their time on the road. So they're going from appointment to appointment to appointment and, you know, communicating to us what they need done. So it's just a lot of multitasking all the time. So yeah, when it comes to hiring, you know, there's no secret sauce to it, other than trying to ask the right questions at the interview so that you get right to it. You know, don't beat around the bush with asking the right questions, but you won't really know until they're in it to see how they manage. And when you start to notice that they're just some things are not getting, and after multiple times of not getting it, then unfortunately
it's not the right fit.
It's not the right fit.
And you're right. You never know. Like I've hired over in the last 2 years, probably over 600 agents, right? Obviously some have stayed, some have not. And I'm like, that's going to be a rock star agent. And then they didn't turn into that. And then I'm like, I don't know about this person. And they end up turning into this rock star agent. I'm like, wow, surprised. And that's when I learned, like, you just don't know. You don't know. You don't know because you don't know a person's work ethic, right? You don't know a person's ability to retain information, right? And that only happens when you're on the field. Like 80 to 85% of the stuff that we learn is through observation. So that's not going to happen until you put them, you know, give them a couple of tasks and see exactly what they do.
Right. And even for us too, right? Like when we get applications from admins that want to work for our company, you know, it looks sexy, right? You know, being an admin and working the schedule that we offer, because we offer pretty long weekends, right? We work a pretty tight nurses schedule, essentially. So we're on, for example, 3 days, 4 days off, something similar to that. Everybody has different schedules, but just give me an example.
And you work around the agent's schedule, which is great.
Right.
That's why you guys call the company 14/7
admin, yeah, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And so in reality, like for admins to come and apply with us, from what they're used to, being working at other VA companies or what have you, they're like, whoa, I actually get days off. Like, this is awesome, right? But when they're actually in it is when it really shows, can they handle, you know, can you handle the heat inside the kitchen, you know? But yeah, you never really know. Like sometimes I've had admins that have grown with us from one of the very entry-level departments and are now in a very high-level department. And I didn't see that coming. I didn't see them. Like from when I hired them, I didn't see them growing with us that quick, and they did, which is great because we do offer like, you know, that growth and we offer the learning and all the things, but people will surprise you, you know, for the better or for the worse.
Definitely. The thing that I love the most about your business concept, right? And I know you're not the first one that started this, but, you know, in the past, when you were a top agent, you would hire, you know, an admin solely for yourself. Right, and that admin today would cost you $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. Today, it's so much more affordable to hire a company like yours that is very multifaceted, where you do more than just admin work, right? You're doing the scheduling, you're doing this, that, and the other, and it's a fraction of the cost for an agent. Like, why would you ever hire just an admin solely for you and pay these outrageous salaries, right? Because we work on a P&L, right? You have to carry a P&L. You have to look at your expenses. You have to look at your profit, right? Now it's so much easier to say, okay, I can justify using a company like Diandra. I can justify using 14/7 because this is what it's going to cost me, and here's all the upside that I'm going to get from it.
Absolutely.
And I love that you brought that to the market here as well.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I haven't seen anybody else that does it the way that we do, which is, you know, nice. It's very niche. But yeah, it really comes down to not only just affordability, but scalability, right? So as your business grows, we scale with you, right? So at any given point where we start to notice, okay, we need to back up a little bit more here to support this agent, we do that, right? But also, you don't necessarily feel like once you, for example, if you're an agent that breaks into that 50 transactions, you know, you're busy. But let's say you want to get to that next level and do 100 transactions, you know, you're going to be very busy, but we're already we know what your goal is. So we know what we need to do to get there. So we scale up too.
Yeah. And by the way, affordability also allows you to scale up for an agent, right? Because if now you're spending a fraction of what it would cost to hire an admin directly for you, now you have more money where you can allocate towards, you know, what's most important, which is prospecting, marketing.
Right.
So that will afford you the scalability.
Yeah, there's literally direct ROI, right? And I said this before at another event that we were at. You know, if I gave you $1 and you gave me back $1, that wouldn't make sense. No. It's like you're investing, right? You're not investing into getting any sort of return. But if I gave you $1, or, you know, if I gave you $1 and you gave me back 10 or vice versa, we'd do that all day, of course. Right? That makes sense. That's 10x, right? Same thing. Like your admin should be giving you a direct ROI because that time is what's valuable.
Correct.
Right? So, you know, we've proven that like we take agents that have invested, let's say $30,000, $40,000 into admin and 4x'd that investment. And that's what we continue to do.
Yeah. So like if you're an agent out there right now and you're looking to scale your business, Diandra is somebody that you need to talk to because, you know, you cannot be short-sighted. You have to look at how you can grow your business. And that requires time, and it requires time for you to focus on the prospecting, the marketing, the things that are very important, like social media. I can't tell you how important social media today is, more so than ever before. Like setting aside an hour or two, you know, I wouldn't say maybe every day, but if you did it every day, I promise you're going to look at a lot of ROI if you did it every day. Setting that time aside is important, but you can't set it aside unless you're delegating a lot of stuff that you do, right? And it's going to afford you to be face-to-face with your clients more. It's going to afford you to, obviously, if you have a family, you're going to spend more time with your family if that's something that you want to do. I hope you want to do it, right? And it's going to allow you to focus on the income-producing activities, which I think real estate agents forget. That's the most important thing, right? Most important thing are the 4 things I always like to say, the 4 things that you should reach every day or at least strive for is, you know, number 1, scheduling your appointments. That's what you need to, like, in the next 3 things is the result of number 1. Number 2 is lead generate. Number 3 is lead nurture. So you're mining for leads again. And number 4 is follow up. Those are the 4 things you should be doing every day. Every day. You should not be leaving your office, your home office, whatever the case may be, without having appointments scheduled. This is how we survive in this business, especially this business right now where there's a big lack of inventory. Right? And if there's a lack of inventory, guess what? It doesn't matter how many buyers you're working with. It's going to be hard for you to service your buyers. So you need to always continuously prospect. Diandra, if people wanted to reach out to you, how do they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at Diandra.147admin. And you can also find us on our website, 14-7admin.com.
Awesome. I hope you guys got a lot of value. I know I did. I'll see you guys next time.